Team match. Match 1.
All right, in the bottom right here for Team Dark in the red, he is...
Gamer's Origin, Reynor.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Was looking forward to seeing a lot of his games this weekend. Well,
unfortunately, we only got the
just
handful.
the few.
Just the several. In the top left here, he has some good games to show for Team Seoul in the blue.
Pixel 1, FanTaSy.
And I personally, I love FanTaSy, man. As a guy that watches a lot of Brood War as well as StarCraft 2, was more than happy for him to go to whichever game he chose when he returned from his military service. And we are blessed to have him in this game.
Oh, I'm actually... Now, here's the thing. FanTaSy was absolutely one of my favorite Terran players ever in StarCraft 1, and I'm a StarCraft 1 Terran, so it means a lot to me. But I'm actually very happy he plays StarCraft 2, because we did lose some of the best StarCraft 2 players back to StarCraft 1. So it's really cool to see someone so legendary, literally the second best Terran ever,
now,
to be here.
Our boy, Mr. Alan Brack, the president of Blizzard, has bestowed upon us a burger blessing, Artosis.
Ooh. Looks like we have some big bracks here.
Some big brack.
Yeah.
Oh, Artosis.
Huge audience, all getting some hamburgers, I guess.
That's right, so it would have been a big bill. Nicely done. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Hopefully the casters get a couple a little bit later as well.
Yeah, so... oh, look at that, he's paying American Express. Okay.
All right. Look at that. Thank you, Mr. President. We love you.
Excellent.
Here's to more burgers and more StarCraft.
Huge, packed audience here today, so...
Yeah, not a small bill.
It is well appreciated. Thank you, Blizzard.
Thanks, mates.
All right. Now that everyone has their burgers and is settling in for a beautiful day of some StarCraft 2, I got to ask you, what do you actually think is going to happen in this series? Who is actually going to win?
I actually think there is a relatively solid chance that FanTaSy can take this one, Artosis.
Yes.
Just purely based on what Roddy said earlier and based on the series that Reynor played as well, against Special, the mech style... Oh, okay. Well, all right, production is just working on making us hungry up here. So... I really feel like if he goes for that mech style, even though this map isn't the greatest for it, maybe something like a BC opening into the battle mech style, or even vanilla mech where you go into Hellion tank.
Oh yeah.
I think that actually is something that Reynor's consistently struggling against. So it's a very I guess an obvious weakness.
Yeah, it is where he really does have most of his troubles, and FanTaSy really prefers mech-styled plays anyways. He even did in StarCraft 1 where it wasn't anywhere near as strong as the bio, right? But he's just kind of a master of that type of play. So
yeah, and there was a period where FanTaSy was literally only doing battle mech in TVZ. It was all he did. Obviously, he has changed up a little bit more. We've seen a little bit more bio from FanTaSy and in Oli League and that sort of thing in the online cups, but lands few and far between. See Stim here on the barracks. So this looks like a bio opening from FanTaSy.
Yeah.
Playing the map a little bit. Of course, we saw Time do very, very well with Biotank on this map. So there are a lot of spots where Biotank pushes are incredibly strong.
Yeah, that is very true. And like Roddy was pointing out, right, this is not the best map for FanTaSy, really. With a mech style, you kind of want a slightly bigger map a lot of the times. The more aggressive bio play can be very useful. But, yeah, no, it is going to be directly into bio. He's adding those two barracks, so it wasn't a fake. It's hard to fake anyways against such quick Overlord speed.
Yeah, and Reynor has also been showing us that he really likes Overlord speed. I don't remember a game where he hasn't got it during this tournament, so...
I don't remember many of his games during this tournament, to be honest.
That means that I'm starting... Honestly, even just with seeing Stim upgrade happening and a couple extra barracks here, I'm already feeling a little bit better about Reynor's chances. All that fluffing up of FanTaSy I was doing earlier, Reynor just doesn't seem to lose against Bio-Terran.
Yeah, he's pretty good against it, there's no doubt, and Reynor is a really strong player, kind of just a world-class Zerg right now. But, to be fair, FanTaSy is underrated right now.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
He put out amazing games against Classic. He's one of the greatest of all time in Brood War. I mean, there's no doubt that he's taking this very seriously, so I'm ready to be impressed by FanTaSy, and if he just busts out some of the best bio that we've ever seen, no one should actually be surprised.
I wouldn't bat an eye. I'd be like, oh yeah, that's FanTaSy, of course.
It's like, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, no, Mike Tyson beat that 20-year-old guy up in the bar. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't be surprised.
He's a really large professional fighter, so
yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe he's old now, but like, hey, he's still got it.
Well, the Overlord checking in for Reynor here, sees the Vikings, going to get shoot away, and confirming that it is indeed Bio from FanTaSy. Now, FanTaSy is actually, because we're not seeing a ton of action just yet, there's some links coming out for Reynor, but it looks to be defensive as FanTaSy's heading towards that time of the map where, as a Terran, you want to move out with your Bio army and start pressuring the Zerg. We see that our first loaded up medevacs are heading across the map right now, and they will have stem. So this is the timing for Reynor to amass these forces. You know, FanTaSy is actually, of all the players that have come back from the military and started playing in StarCraft 2 again, he's been looking the strongest of all those players that have come back.
Yeah, you're right about that, actually. And some of them have looked pretty strong, right? We've had the return of, like, Bomber and MMA. MMA, Tasia, all these guys. But yeah, FanTaSy is looking the strongest.
Queen's a little exposed here. A couple of them are going to be picked off. Nice start for FanTaSy. Obviously, Baneling speed's a long way away, so we could go for some nice target fire here. Oh, more Banelings from the south. FanTaSy forced to lift up. He loses the Hellions of the Reaper part of his force, but still some Marines enough Marines to be alive to be a threat here to Reynor, so he's going to just follow that medevac around.
Yeah, I think that was pretty reasonable. I like the flank from the side where he landed kind of off creep, so the Queens weren't quite sure where the army was. So nice moves from FanTaSy. But of course, none of this is meant to necessarily do a ton of damage since he's taken a quick third command center and gotten double eBay right away. This is actually a very macro-intensive build from FanTaSy.
Certainly. And you see just trying to trade well with the Zerg there. Ooh, does lose a couple Marines there, but he's picking up and moving on back. Now, there is not enough Marines here from FanTaSy to continue to be a threat to the creep spread of Reynor, and Reynor knows that, so not really respecting those medevacs as they pull on back. FanTaSy, I mean, you know, players like Time will load up more medevacs and just keep doing it because their multitasking is so strong. At the moment, it looks like FanTaSy is a little bit more concerned about holding on to his third base and making sure that that isn't going to have any Zergs in front of it. But Reynor's actually not doing any of his, you know, signature third base timing run bys or anything like that here.
Yeah, not as of yet. He's playing kind of a more defensive game right now, which I'm fine with. To be honest, though, what I'm really looking at for Reynor right now is this beautiful creep spread. Look how far out it is on both sides of his third and fourth.
It looks about as good as it gets. I very rarely see it this comprehensive. Oh, nice spot here for FanTaSy, getting a couple overlords is quite nice. Reynor does have more working with it. There's that third base run by we were looking for. Reynor getting a lot of SV damage here, forcing a pullback on his workers. All the Marines are stuck against the corner here. FanTaSy has to lift up and pull back, but he actually still has enough Terran units with his tank coverage to really pressure this fourth base.
That's a lot of Banes being made right now. Looks like the rest of the Lings being brought back for a flank as well. Let's see how this goes for FanTaSy. Reynor rolling forward, a split on those Banelings. Some good targeting there by FanTaSy. The Banelings get on top of the siege tanks and push everything back.
They certainly do, and with the tanks gone, just the buy on its own, not as convincing, but there is a lack of creep spread here in the main base. Reynor needs to get down here and actually get his forces together. Just Lings won't do the job. So the Banelings are coming up as well. Reynor waiting for his chance to strike. Of course, FanTaSy can just lift up and pull back. Reynor did not lose the fourth base, didn't lose his Evo Chambers. Nice target fire from FanTaSy. Reynor needs to bring the rest of his units in here.
Oh, this is amazing, too. He has 1-1 against no upgrades from Reynor during that, so gets a reasonable trade and then gets out another couple medevacs going towards the fifth base as it's morphing.
It looks like a cancel right here, Artosis. Reynor is getting close, but is there enough units to actually stop this? Without the Banelings, I don't think so. Here they come. FanTaSy pulls back, starts a little bit of target fire, and that hatchery actually gets canceled.
Yeah, at the very last possible second. In the meantime, does lose a medevac here, but sees that mutas are out. That's actually pretty important that he sees that these are being produced. And another attack at the third.
Oh, nice pick off at FanTaSy. The low hit point hatchery where all the action was earlier. Still damaged, hasn't regenerated enough hit points, so down it goes. And suddenly Reynor is on 3 bases here. So not the greatest situation for the Zerg economically. Terran heading towards 2-2, not too far behind the Zerg, so Reynor really on top of his upgrades. The Mutalisk's now a threat to FanTaSy. He starts a second factory. No doubt we're going to be seeing drilling claws and a reactor soon here to get up into some Widow Mine production.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Now, I love that FanTaSy is sitting back a little bit more defensively. This is like what we were talking about a little bit occasionally with Time, where he would just keep going, but FanTaSy's done a lot of damage, so I feel like securing his base is exactly what he needs to do right now.
Really nice Mutalisk counterattack here from Reynor before the turret's done in the main. So annoying for Terran. You keep pulling your SCVs to finish the turret, but the turrets never get to finish until all those mutas are shoot away from the Marines. So does hold on, but loses 9 SCVs. It really does sting. Drop in the main of Reynor, gets 4 workers. This is looking a little bit more convincing, but the Marines still so damaged. Reynor's army not far away. FanTaSy getting pushed back from both sides of Reynor's infrastructure here. Good hold from the Zerg.
Look at this, all the mutas coming back. He will be able to clean this up. But you know what? FanTaSy is keeping Reynor really busy right now. Not that, you know, Reynor's economy, it's still all right. He's taken some damage, though. It's not perfect. And now with FanTaSy moving out and 2-2 on the way, This is becoming a bit scarier for Reynor, isn't it?
Looks like FanTaSy needs to push from the top here, Artosis. There's so much creep spread down in the south, and there's a little bit of a lack in creep spread up here to the north, and that is generally where Reynor's been expanding. So this push from FanTaSy makes a ton of sense to me. Liberator's also coming out here. Supply depot wall being cut into by the Mutalisk. We know Reynor loves his run-bys, so would love to have less, less wall-ins to worry about. FanTaSy also likes the Thor a lot more than other Terrans do, so he's going to start making those to help out with the Mutt-Mutts, which are stacked up a little bit. They take a big volley there.
Yeah, a lot of damage put on them.
Run-bys.
Yeah, that run-by into the third. The Banelings could deal a ton of damage here. Looks like he just barely gets the SCVs out.
Oh, he loses a hatchery for it here. Reynor's base count's still not too bad. Keep in mind that Terran doesn't have a fourth base just yet. He's still got it on the way. A lot of SCVs pulled out of that third base. FanTaSy's worker count knocked down to 56 as well.
And look at this. I am loving what I'm seeing from FanTaSy with this push. He's spreading those siege tanks out. Those are going to be really hard to hit. The Meta's trying to come in, but there is a Thor here, which is going to make it very difficult to engage.
Oh, the Banelings! So many Marines went down there, and these medevacs are so low. I mean, FanTaSy still has some pressure up here on that base, but I think the next volley from Reynor should be just fine. Oh my god, YOLO Liberator sieged up right on top of two hatcheries, getting insane drone damage. What the hell?
A ton of damage going down, and it looks like Reynor will finally clear out this area, but at a huge cost of Banelings, and still taking more drone damage.
He's going to lose, looks like just lose one more there before the Liberator gets done with. Now Drilling Claws, Widowmines are a part of the composition for FanTaSy. Very, very good composition against what Reynor has. Eats one Widowmine there, but that's okay. Everything is still alive here. And he does need Overseers in his army now.
FanTaSy is playing a really beautiful game right now, but...
No!
Wow, another base being taken down. Look at this. There are a couple things for FanTaSy, though, right? We don't see him taking a fourth, and he's just now starting 3-3. So it's a little bit later than he wanted, but it's not like Reynor has started 3-3, so he's not going to get behind.
All these Widowmines.
Oh
actually not connecting anywhere near as badly as I thought they would.
Yeah, no,
I thought it was going to be way worse for Reynor there.
That could have been much worse. I think he didn't even realize that Drilling Claws was out or something like that. He was like, oh, those probably died already.
Yeah, he only just started an Overseer after that last shot. He's like, oh, damn it. Need to get on top of that. Mutants coming back in here. A hot target usually is going to be those add-ons as they are lower in hit points. You halve the production of the Marines here on those barracks. This makes a ton of sense. Fourth base has been secured here for FanTaSy, and as Terran usually does, 3-3 started earlier for the Zerg. Reynor does not have Hive or Tier 3 for the most part on the way for him here. Very, very much all in on this on this Tier 2 for now.
Yeah, he's got to kind of stabilize everything. You know, even with this great creep spread, he's been taking tons of damage all over the place. Now, he gives a bit back, which is why he's still in it, but FanTaSy will not let up.
He absolutely will not. Bio-Terran, normally a style that Reynor is so confident against. The FanTaSy really pushing him to the limit here. Dropping into the main base, dropping into this base to the south as well. The Banelings clean that up, but the army is down here at this base while the medevac goes unchecked into the main. So potentially some more damage here. So the Mutalisk looking to intercept, so it doesn't look like FanTaSy's going to get too much more done here. Oh, only 2 mutas? All right, there's the block. All right.
He gets the queen, though, and he's killing a few mutas off. So this is still very worthwhile, right? Kill a queen, kill 2-3 mutas, and dictate where the Mutalisks have to be. So you're not taking any damage at home, and you can move around freely.
Looks like FanTaSy's honestly done his homework here, Artosis. He knew that he had to face Reynor yesterday, and he's doing very well. He's made himself very, very invulnerable to these run-bys, or it's very, very hard for Reynor to get onto these run-bys.
Yeah.
And he just seems to be an absolute god at playing Biomine here against this Tier 2 Zerg style. Reynor only just now getting into the Infestation Pit at 14 minutes, and look at how low his mineral and gas bank is.
Yeah, it is not looking too hot for Reynor. More drops still coming in. FanTaSy is absolutely everywhere. His multitasking out of control, his macro on point, his micro amazing, his decision-making best of all.
And his army is so much bigger and so much better than Reynor's right now. Banelings do come through and get into that Marine count a little bit, but I'm still very worried for Reynor. His army is so squishy to these Widowmines. A beautiful connection there. Most of the Banelings going down, and the rest of the Marines, along with the Thor, are going to join in now.
Oh my gosh, just absolutely awesome plays. Another Liberator coming in, getting more drones, and Reynor is just falling apart.
This is it, Artosis. Reynor, the confidence, the cockiness from this kid, but FanTaSy putting him in his place. Got him against the ropes here. The Zerg's economy in shambles. No money to be able to get those scary Tier 3 units to punish the heavy Marine count and the Widowmine count here of the Terran. He's just holding all the cards right now.
Well, the Muta's trying to come back and see if they can get something done. Not really likely, though. It just seems like everything is so solid for FanTaSy. You can see Reynor not looking happy at the moment.
Meanwhile, FanTaSy, cool as a cucumber. He is fine. He's done this 1,000 times before. It's just treating it like a ladder game. Right into the main base here. Another drop right next to the Spire. Queen not here to support as well. The drones all by their lonesome. Hive begins here for Reynor. But I don't know if we're going to see too many tier 3 units in this game, Artosis. FanTaSy's army is just so scary. Spire does finish +2, but it will be picked off. But it feels like the time in the Mutalisk is over. We need to start thinking about some tier 3 here for Reynor, but I don't think that FanTaSy's going to let him get there.
No, it doesn't seem like it. You're going to have to just make as many Lings and Banes as possible to try to hold on here, but it seems like there's no way. He's got such a great spread. He's got his fantastic upgrades all finished up. This is an amazing game for FanTaSy.
Certainly. The ground army of Reynor very thinned out here. The 60% of it's dead. Here comes the other part of it. The Bio pulls back behind Big Daddy Thor to tank that damage. Some nice Baneling connections from Reynor. Keeping the dream alive here. He's lost so many drones though. He's down at 42. The army supply of FanTaSy still crushing Reynor's here. Oh, and it looks so close, but really it's not that close at all. GG.